What is up, clean freaks and filthy friends alike? Filthy Dan coming at you for another film discussion, and today we're taking a look at a flick that I recently just saw for the first time, and that is quite a shame because I remember being pretty excited whenever this one was coming out. However, when it did come out, it still managed to fly over my radar, and I still wanted to right the wrong, but did not until a couple weeks ago at this point. And it's a further shame too, considering my fondness for its predecessor. Anyway, let's dive into The Strangers Pray at Night. So The Strangers Pray at Night was released in 2018, was directed by Johan Roberts, stars Bailey Madison, Lewis Pullman, Christina Hendricks, and Martin Henderson as the family. And we have Damien Maffei, Emma Bellamy, and Leah Enslin as the three masked strangers. And this film tells the story of the family of four as they're staying the night at a trailer park. They have a little bit of trouble with their daughter. She's kind of the troubled youth type, and they're getting ready to send her to boarding school, and they might be in a financial deficit. And while they're at this trailer park, they find themselves being stalked and attacked by the three masked strangers last seen in the previous film. And a vicious game of cat and mouse ensues. It's on a less psychological level than the first film, and is in a more slasher manner akin to the '80s, and that I think really helps this film stand on its own against the original, which is a really good thing because when you're doing a film that is a sequel, it's hard to really separate yourself from that first one, and that's one thing that I think this film does pretty well. Anyway, let's get into the likes and dislikes on this one. First and foremost, I really like the family dynamic here, and as I said, it's one of the things that helps this film stand on its own. It really adds an extra level of fucks to give in this film, especially once everything starts going sideways for these folks. Uh, think that the chemistry between the main cast is really great here, and it's a very buyable chemistry because you believe that they are a real family. Everything down to the way they get along with each other. Like there's some bickering and a little bit of tough love, but you can tell that there really is that sense of love and care for each other there. And what adds to that even more is that every individual family member has a specific dynamic with one other member. It's like they all have a four-piece dynamic, but there's a one-on-one dynamic that's unique between each member, and that adds to the believability. And they're all really well acted too in this film. And I think that Bailey Madison as Kinsey especially delivers in this film. And Christina Henderson, given her limited screen time that she does have, I think she comes in a really tight second behind the daughter. Perhaps if she had more screen time, she probably could have gotten the victory here. But I think that the winning family dynamic really boils down to Kinsey and Luke because we get more of them together on screen. Of course, at the beginning they're kind of bickering, and you feel that sibling rivalry and you buy it. But when they're just one on one away from the mom and dad, they get along really well, and you can tell that they really do care about each other, especially when things start getting really bad for everyone. Luke is doing his best to try and keep his sister positive, and I mean it's hard after you know that both your parents are fucking dead, but they really do well in creating that bond on screen. And again, I did say that this one separates itself and from the first, and the way it does that really is it pulls the Terminator 2 slash Aliens card. And that said, that I do enjoy the first one. I love the first Strangers. It's a really nice slow burn. masterful tension throughout, and this one this one changes itself again just enough. Again, it's more akin to the 80s slashers, and I think that it really presents itself as that kind of sequel that can stand on its own. It could be viewed separately or in tandem with the original, and they're both really great. And this one, again, using the slasher direction, it really adds something new to the film. It's like, okay, we're not seeing the strangers again, so it really works in that regard. That's one thing I was kind of nervous about was, are we going to just get the strangers again? But this one, I think the pacing is a lot more rapid and breakneck through this one, and I think that really helps, like, further to separate it from the original. Uh, Also, the way that this film really reads like a love letter to the horror genre overall. I mean, you've got, I think, four different nods that I was able to count throughout this film. I mean, you've got the when the truck is on fire at the end with the man in the mask, when his truck's on fire and starts chasing Kinsey down the road. That's very much Christine right there. I love that. You have a moment where Kinsey is actually getting into the police truck and she's getting ready to drive off. Notices the keys aren't there. Dollface taps on the window, rattles the keys in front of her. If that's not Scream, I don't know what the fuck it is. And the final escape moment too, when she's hops in the back of that pickup truck, bloody as hell. That is definitely a Texas Chainsaw Massacre reference, and you got um I think that's really the only ones I could think of off the top of my head, but even down to the score, which I'm just going to mention here, it really comes off as an 80s slasher with that score because it has that real synthy droning feel, and it feels like a Carpenter score almost, and it's not, but it finds a way to definitely feel like that, in that it's very simple yet very effective throughout. And adding to the music of the film, outside of the score, you have songs that are just featured throughout the film, which are another high point. And of course, the Total Eclipse of the Heart is probably the no contest winner of the featured songs. And of course, that is because when it shows up, it's at the pool scene, which I think it really is like the eyeball poetry moment of the film. Just a very beautifully shot scene, and with everything going on, the music really juxtaposes itself in a certain way that is just, I mean, it's fucking beautiful, man. Uh, and it's a beautiful film to look at all the way through too. The cinematography and lighting are spectacular throughout here. One thing I really like that it does to really get inside your head is that there's a scene specifically where Luke and his dad are in one of the trailers and they hear noises outside, and you get them looking outside and the camera just slowly zooms in into the emptiness. And I don't know, there was just something about that. It's like it really helps keep the genuine terror that was in the first film and translates it into this one. Like, that's just one example. Uh, I mean, you look at the whole film and it's just, again, a marvel to look at. Uh, I also want to mention that the namesake strangers are still great and pretty intimidating in this one. They're not as scary as they were in the first, but I think they're a little more well played. Again, they were terrifying in the first one, but here they actually have it. It's a totally different sensibility for the characters here. The obvious standout for the strangers, of course, is your friend, my friend, Mr. Damien Maffei, as the man in the mask. I mean, his character is not messing around here, and he's easily the scariest of the three. And though he doesn't really have any dialogue, he did do an amazing job at conveying a lot of different emotions throughout, mostly anger. But there's still a playful energy. Like whenever he kills the father, it's like I don't know. It almost reminded me of something Art the Clown would do because he gets in the car, has the radio on, and he just kind of sits there next to the dad who's fucking got a big old block of wood impaled through him, and he just fucking sits there listening to the music, and the scene just takes its time, which really just it creates a sense of uncomfortability, and he just fucking stabs him there. Um, yeah, that was really fucking wild, man. Uh, and of course, the fight at the pool scene, like his anger comes through there, and I don't know, if you watch the way Damien plays him there, like he says so much without saying a single fucking word. Like it's kind of just imposing at first, but once he realizes that Pinup Girl has been killed, like he just shifts into anger. And again, without saying anything, you can buy the emotional I don't want to say distraught there, but there's definitely something there that is like it just makes the character feel a little more human, I guess you could say. But he really makes this character his own, and that's he stands pretty well against Kip Week's performance 10 years before. Um, I mean, because Kip just didn't have a whole lot to really work with in the first one. Also, Dollface in this film, holy shit, man! Dollface is she's got a different deal going on here. I mean, she was great in the first one. Of course, she's got her creepy knock at the door asking, "Is Tamara here?" And all I gotta say, it does kind of feel like a fluid transition from the first one. I think that Emma Bellamy really, she does like Damien and makes this role her own, and she has a dark little 2 film arc even because at the end of the first one, you see that she's kind of she the character of Dollface at the end of the first one seems a little almost distraught by what they've done, and they even have to tell her that, hey, it's going to be easier next time. By this one, she's just fucking she's down and ready to be a part of the killing team. She so there's a little nice little transition there that's dark and believable in a lot of ways. So I feel that it is a natural progression of that character. I'm probably reading too much into the character, but I kind of noticed that there was a little arc like development there, and fucking her end scene here, it's amazing because she's the only one that we get fully unmasked. Like she's been fucking shot by Kinsey, and Kinsey takes the mask off and asks her why is she doing this, and I'm expecting because you were home. Like while I was watching it, I'm like, because you were home. And she just says, why not? And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, it's a nice little mix up and adds um way much more cynicism, I think, than it did in the first film with the because you were home. Like upgrading that to why not is just like you could tell she's kind of gotten hardened there. Because again, because you were home, it just sounds like a really easy explanation. But why not? It's like she doesn't even care anymore. So it was a nice little progression for her. I wish I could say that Pinup Girl brought more to this, but she just doesn't have a whole lot to do, and it really kind of leaves her feeling very much the same as she was in the first film. But at least her death scene does come in what I find to be the film's standout scene. I love you, Pinup Girl, but you didn't have a whole lot to do, baby. I'm sorry. But the ending scene overall, too, I think it played out pretty well. I mean, you get the victory of Kinsey. I mean, she's at the hospital with Luke, but it's not an outright happy ending either. There's there's a bit of you can tell that the damage has been done. Like her parents are dead, her brother might die. So there's a real dark shadow hanging over her, And even when you get the little knock at the on the hospital door, she's freaked out. So you could tell that she's shook up, and she probably will be for a long time. There's no amount of the day after that's gonna make her feel better. So I like that it plays the happy ending, but it doesn't show that there's sunshine and rainbows ahead. It shows that it is a fucking new day. Um, Shit's still gonna be bad for her. I like that it manages to balance out the dark endings that I like, but also while incorporating a bit of a happy ending. And as far as like outright positives, that's really all I had to throw down. Uh, Now there's nothing that I'm really mixed on or fully negative about, but there are a few nitpicks that I have for the film. And one is just that the third act, while enjoyable, it did feel that it was little a little ludicrous in its continuance there. I mean, it just felt like they were trying to drag it on and make it as over the top as possible, which I get. You're going for the 80s slasher kind of feel. What better way to do it than over the top with excess amounts of craziness here and there? But it doesn't really hurt the movie at all. I mean, it certainly does not hurt the film, but nitpick nonetheless. Also, the kills in this film, the kills were relatively lackluster, but there was enough going on around the scene, around the kill scenes, to make them work for me. I mean, you all know that when I look for a kill, I like there to be not just the kill itself, but the elements surrounding the kill. Uh, and I think that this one actually has pretty good context around the kill in spades. Uh, that's really about it as far as nitpicks go. So overall, this film did not do anything wrong for me. Anyway, let's move on to the filthy features. Before we do, I got to catch up on The Strangers from 2008. So for the first film, real quick, my favorite kill obviously goes to Glenn Howerton's character. I mean, it was between him and Mike, really, or he was Mike. It was between him and Scott Speedman's character. Um, I think the shotgun to the face on accident is a lot more effective than getting stabbed and bleeding out. There wasn't any real smut in the first film, but we do get to see Liv Tyler tastefully in the bathtub, so gotta love that. But anyway, to the filthy features of The Strangers Prey at Night. So the favorite kill for this one, as I said, these kills are really elevated by the situation surrounding them. And the winner for that is going to be Cindy's death, the mom. I mean, sure, it's just two stabs to the back there, but it's the way she dies. She dies as a mama bear protecting her cub, and I'm hoping that Halloween Kills can maybe take notes on that. Uh, but yeah, it's a super emotional kill. I mean, you've got Kinsey up top helplessly looking down at her mom getting killed, and she's like, "Go, sweetie, go." And you can tell she's really fucked up by seeing that. And there's a further layer of emotion that comes when Luke and his dad come back to the trailer, and the dad goes back there and finds his wife. And Luke is trying to go back, see what's going on, and the dad's like, "No." Turns around and he's pushing Luke out of the bathroom, like, "No, no, no." Um, that just adds a whole extra level of, oh my fucking god, man. It's really emotional, and for that, it really does win the first place here. And I do got to say though, if Luke had died, his death scene would have easily taken home the trophy. There is no smut to be had here, so let's just move on to this one. The Strangers Prey at Night is a well-made sequel, and it really does serve as a nice a nice change of pace and tone from the original film, and it's easily the more rewatchable of the two. This flick definitely deserves a spot on your shelf, so definitely get on that if you haven't. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth checking out. Um, I don't know. Between the two, man, I honestly couldn't tell you which one I prefer because they're both, I think, at the same great level. But it's because they have a very different flavor. It makes it all the harder to decide which is better. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Please be sure to like and share this video. And if you have not already, please hit that subscribe button, hashtag crawl to 200. And if you're feeling extra filthy, go ahead and leave a comment down below. What do y'all think of Pray at Night? Do you guys prefer it to the first film, or are you one of those people who may prefer the first film? Anyway, be sure to also check out these beautiful social media links. Got the channel Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, got the Patreon, and the Stream Demons fan page on Facebook. So definitely consider checking those out. And as always, you all stay filthy.